And as I open the door, my best friend and roommate, Ryan, goes, "Oh no!" And I look, and he is seated at the, again, shared desktop computer that we all use. He is watching gay pornography. He is having a private moment. And he is simultaneously, this is like the worst, most depraved part of this. He is simultaneously eating from a package of lunch meat. Just plain lunch meat. Just eating it by the slice.
Hello, everybody. This is Ashley from TikTok's 130 Books in 130 Days. You're listening to the If It Was a Book podcast, the show that takes real-life stories and rewrites them into what would happen if it was a book, for people who love reading, writing, pop culture, and general ADHD chaos. Today, I am joined by the lovely TJ Alexander. They are an amateur baker, a master of writing and publishing, and the author of 5 books, including Chef's Kiss, Second Chances at Newport Stephen, Triple Sec, and A Gentleman's Gentleman, which comes out March 11th. So it will be out when this releases.
All right.
TJ, do you have any other qualifications you'd like to add?
I'm under 5'5".
Me too. I'm like a proud 5'3.5".
Yeah, short kings unite. I cannot reach that top shelf, but I can give it a try. I can give it.
I have
my
a
best.
stool in my kitchen.
I have a tall wife, so.
There you go. In this podcast, we take a real life story and then we rewrite it as if it was a book. We have your masters in writing and publishing to write us a beautiful story, and then we have my attempts. TJ, you have a story that you'd like to share with us?
I do. It's a college era story.
Okay.
Is that, do we love that, or? Great. Okay. It's a bit raunchy. Is that? Okay. I hope that's all right for the.
It's okay. If I have to bleep, it's okay.
Perfect. So yeah, so this story takes place in my senior year, my last year of undergrad college. I went to a state university in my home state of Florida, and for that final year, I was living in an off-campus apartment with 2 very good friends of mine. One was a roommate that we will call Ryan, not real name, and my other roommate was a woman that we will call Sarah. I'm just making these up out of thin air. I feel so like, ooh, on the ball. Okay, so Ryan and Sarah and I moved into this 1-bedroom apartment off campus. We were all extremely like tight as far as money went. So our thinking was that we would live in this apartment together. It had a walk-in closet. And I only mention that because Ryan volunteered. We did not make him do this. Ryan was a gay man, but he volunteered to live in the walk-in closet because it at least afforded him some privacy, even though like it didn't have a door and his feet stuck out into the into the bedroom.
There was no door?
There was no door. Well, we took the door off so he would fit because we did not get the deposit back on this place, by the way. So Sarah and I shared the single bedroom. Mattresses on the floor kind of situation, extreme dirtbag undergrad college living. It was not the worst place I've ever lived. I will say that, but it was by no means like a nice apartment. But the story is not about how we were poor and in college and our living situation was really silly. The story is about the fact that before we even moved in together, we all knew that living in such close quarters was going to be interesting. And one concern that people kept bringing up when we mentioned, like, oh yeah, we're going to, I think, get a 1-bedroom apartment together. One concern that all of our friends brought up was like, what are you going to do if somebody wants alone time?
Right.
You know what I mean? And our response to that wasn't like, oh, well, as like grown adults, we're gonna like have rules, maybe a schedule, we're gonna like talk it out amongst ourselves and come to a consensus. Instead of doing any of that, we decided to go in on a bet where we would all put in $50 and whoever caught somebody in the apartment indulging in this private moment Alone or with another person. We weren't like going to,
Right.
mince meat here. We weren't splitting hairs. We were like, if you catch someone, one of us three, if one of us three catches one of the other three in a compromising situation, you win the pot. You win $150, which in the year that this took place was a lot of money.
For college students, that's still a lot of money.
It's still a lot of money. It's still a lot of money to me. Oh my God, please buy my book. So we start the process of like living together with this tension that is just like over everything, because we're having a great time. We're like living together, we're in each other's pockets all the time. But there's like this simmering idea that like at any moment, like I could win this money if I like keep my head on a swivel. If I stay focused, I could be the big winner of this horrible, what's the name of when people make a bet about like we'll put money in a pot and whoever survives the longest like gets this money. It's not a Rochambeau. It's like a French word.
Oh.
Anyway,
I was like, final girl? I don't know.
it's like old people do this. Well, they become old, hopefully, in this situation. It's like, oh, whoever is the last surviving member of our group gets the money. It reminds me of that because, it's just as wild and bonkers. Anyway, so instead of using this as like an opportunity to learn to be mature in our relationships and like set boundaries, what instead started happening is like every time one of us would come home from class, we would enter the apartment, like just ripping the door open, like trying to like creep up the stairs like as quietly as possible and just enter the apartment super fast in the hopes that like we would catch whoever was in there like doing something. And all of this was even more heightened by the fact that this was, again, many years ago. This was the aughts, and we shared a desktop computer. I don't know how to explain this to people in modern day, but none of us...
I understand. Yes.
Okay. Like, none of us had our own personal dedicated computer. We shared a giant desktop setup with a tower and a monitor and everything. Okay. So we had that at a desk, like right by the front door, like near the window that faced out of the of the front of the apartment. And if the curtains were drawn, you could see like the silhouette of somebody at the computer while you were like coming home. And then you would be like, oh, this could be it. This could be my chance. And then you come through the doorway and it's just like, Sarah sitting there like writing an essay, or it's, Ryan sitting there making an email. It was just like always a disappointment. I'm like, I thought I got you, but I didn't. So this went on for months until like finally we were like, well, I guess nobody in this apartment is having any fun. Like, we have made a situation where now everyone is on such high alert that like we're never going to have a date over or have any fun time at all inside this apartment because we don't want to lose out on this money. So after a few months, friends would ask us like, oh, how's it going? Did anyone win yet? And we'd be like, you know what? I think we've all just kind of like, we're just, this is never going to work, right? We're just going to forget about this stuff was kind of, but then like, everyone was saying that. And then we were like, well, is she just saying that to like get me off my guard? Is he just saying that because he has a plan? So there was, but it took many months, but eventually we all kind of forget that this is happening. We kind of let down our guard. We kind of stop caring about this. We're living in like a 1-bedroom apartment. So we're seeing, if not that, then my friends and I were seeing each other at like basically our worst all the time, right? Like, who cares if you don't catch your friend doing that exactly? Like, you're seeing things that are way more disturbing than that when you live together in 3 people in a 1-bedroom apartment. Until one afternoon when I came home from my classes and I enter the front room where the desktop computer is super casually, not even thinking, like, probably like juggling a bunch of stuff in my hands, books and whatnot. And as I open the door, my best friend and roommate, Ryan, goes, oh no! And I look, and he is seated at the, again, shared desktop computer that we all use. He is watching gay. He is having a private moment. and he is simultaneously, this is like the worst, most depraved part of this. He is simultaneously eating from a package of lunch meat, just plain lunch meat, just eating it by the slice.
Ryan, what?
And that was what, like, I saw and, like, kind of latched onto the most, I think. Like, even though I saw the whole picture and I knew what was happening, I was like, liverwurst, huh? Right now? Like, you're eating slices of liverwurst? And he was like, I only have, like, an hour between classes. And he's, like, you know, getting his hoodie back on. He's getting his pants back up. I was so shocked that I, like, had done it, that I had, like, I forgot about the money for like a second. And then I was like, oh, I get $150. I get $150. I flip phone. Oh my God, Sarah, you won't get to like, immediately had to call everyone I knew who also knew about this. And so, yeah, so that was how the great three-way bet of that year, which again, I won't mention, but it was in the early aughts. That was how that ended.
That's such a, like, college thing. Not only, like, being so poor that you have to live in a one-bedroom with 3 people, but,
Yes.
like, also being like, I just have so much to do. I have to eat lunch meat at the same time. I'm so busy.
He was like, my senior year schedule is really packed.
I'm like, I don't know Ryan, obviously, but I'm picturing a person who is, like, at this desktop computer, this shared in a common space desktop computer, doing what he's doing, and just, like, also crying because of the lunch meat. Like, he's so sad that this is what it's come to.
And the liverwurst, I assume, has like such a high sodium content. Like, your whole body basically is in a state of abuse. Just horrible abuse.
You leave all of this, you're also bloated.
Yeah. I was like, at what point in this experience was it like fun or like?
For you, yeah. Okay. So I love it. My immediate thoughts are that it kind of has to be the end of the book where someone is seen. My thoughts are, I write the end first wildly.
No, I love that. I love that.
That the ending is that our main character and their partner are actually the ones that are gonna get caught. So it's not a solo adventure. It's like they finally get together, and then like the comedic relief of, oh no, they also got caught and now they have to like pay up, but it's kind of worth it because they got together.
I see. So instead of the solo moment of fun, it would be like, we caught them, and maybe the characters who were involved in, I guess there's still a bet happening in this rewrite. Because I think that's the bet is a really fun mechanism.
Well, it's not a bet that hurts anyone. It's not like the typical romance bet where they're like, you couldn't sleep with this person, and then like, oh, but I did, but also that like hurts people's feelings.
Yeah, it's a harmless bet amongst friends, but it would give all the other side characters in the cast a reason to kind of like be trying to like nudge everyone into relationships almost. Like, oh, why not? Why not try and hook up, you know? Because I might win $150 out of it.
I think also for more comedic relief just at the end, I think that both roommates should come in, so they have to split the $150.
I like that like it's more of a group experience, a real group experience.
Okay, so we have our ending. We need to do a setup. We need the characters.
Yeah.
So I think we should keep Ryan and Sarah as the roommates because they're fake names anyway.
Yeah, so, representation.
Ryan and Sarah. Ryan lives in the closet.
Yes, by choice. Again, no one made him do this. It was his suggestion.
Where did y'all keep your clothes?
Well, we didn't own much. God, this sounds so sad. This is the thing. If you make it actual impoverished people, that's not very fun, you know, in fiction. Like real impoverished. What did we keep our clothes in? I think we had like milk crates. That was like a pretty, you know, if you stack the milk crates, you can create a dresser. Milk crates are free if you find them and steal them out back of a Eckerd drug, which is, I believe, what we did.
Incredible. Okay, so we can make them still poor college students, maybe slightly less poor in that all 3 of them live in the room. Perhaps
Yeah.
there's bunk beds and then a single twin, so all three of them get to be in a bed that's not
That's less sad, for
in
sure.
a physical closet.
Yeah. I think it would be funny if one of the characters maybe did come from money, right? But maybe had been cut off temporarily, not in like a really brutal way, from their parents. Like maybe their rich parents said something like, for the last year of college, you've been spending money left and right this whole time, and for your last year, you gotta take care of yourself. Whoever it is, not me. I know how to save money. I got those milk crates for us.
Right. They were free.
But, maybe, what? Let's let the Ryan character, I think, be the one who like needs to learn how to slum it. I think that could be funny.
Okay, I've wrote Ryan dash rich boy.
Yeah, that's why he needs the privacy of the walk-in closet. He's used to having his own space.
Okay. Or I mean, it could still be like the walk-in closet situation, but maybe it's slightly larger in that he can keep his door. But then there's not quite as much fun of like you could be caught at any moment.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that without the door, it was like, oh, then this could happen. And I remember Sarah would wake up very early in the morning to be like, you gotta be an early bird to catch that worm, but she never did. I'm
gonna say so that she could like be in the shower for a really long time for reasons.
Oh no, are you kidding? We didn't take long showers. Again, real poor. Like, very poor. The water bills. Anyway, yeah, I love that. That's all very good to me. That's all very fun.
Okay, so we have Sarah, we have Ryan. We need a main character. Do you want to be the main character, or would you like to write a main character?
I mean, I guess, if I have to be, oh my gosh.
Would you like to keep your name? Do you want it to be TJ, or do you want
let's make it TJ. Let's make it TJ, and that way, like, we've got a man, we've got a woman, we've got whatever's going on with me. I feel like, I feel like that's a well-rounded cast, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So you are the main character. So who would you like your love interest to be?
Now, let us be clear. It's not me. It's just a character who shares my name and who is in some slight way based on me.
Right.
Ooh, who should my love interest be? Ooh, not me. The character who is based on me.
Not you. A timeline divergent, if college had gone a different way, could have been you situation.
Yes. I think it would have to be a love interest who either doesn't know about the bet, or who maybe feels like it's really immature and like, you know.
Oh yeah. Yes, they are way too. Yeah, I think that they're going to be very fancy. I think you need to be in like a group project. And so you're in a group project, you're working on it at home because like that's where you do things. You're at like the table. Maybe you're
the one table we owned.
Exactly. One table with 3 chairs and you're there. It also has the computer on it. So everybody's doing that. And then the roommates are going to burst in and be like, and you're like, no.
Yeah. And then I have to explain, not me, the character based on me. My character has to explain, we have this running bet, blah, blah, blah. And then whoever this love interest in is like, oh, that sounds tawdry. It sounds...
Yeah.
And maybe the whole arc of that love interest is sort of like a loosening up, like maybe very stoic and rigid to begin with. But then like as the story progresses...
Our fun cast of characters makes them live life a little bit more.
The main character, TJ, and the rest of the fun gang are like combined a manic pixie dream girl type of energy that is getting this love interest to sort of like, let down their hair,
I do feel like any group of college roommates is like combines to become a manic pixie dream girl situation. Doesn't matter who they are. They all bring, like, weird commingling energy together and become this, like, fun place. Unless your roommates suck. Sorry about that if your roommates suck. I had cool roommates.
These roommates were very cool. I had some not-so-cool roommates earlier in my college career, but these roommates were pretty cool, except for the whole liverwurst thing.
He thought he had an hour before class. No one was going to be there to witness
1 hour to eat lunch and... Yeah.
And I assume walk to and from class. So really it's less than an hour. Okay. So I need our love interest to have a name.
I don't know why.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I was gonna say Sarah again, and I'm like, that's not helpful. We already have a Sarah.
Have you ever read a book that's like how in real life you all know like 3 Sarahs and like 2 are like, oh, those are the Sarahs with an H. That's Sarah M and Sarah O, and then Sarah without an H. Like, I wish we could do that in books because it's so funny, like, that we can't because, you know, an editor will be like, it's too confusing. People aren't going to keep these Sarahs all straight.
Well,
but
especially like in an audiobook where you can't see the visual difference.
Every time you say Sarah without an A, the narrator has to say
You like spell the name.
I love that. That would be very funny, and I think we could pull it off with like a little help from a really, you know, easygoing audiobook narrator. But I don't know why the name Rory just came to me. Very gender neutral. I don't know how you're feeling about the gender of this love interest.
I have no opinions.
Neither do I. Like, personally, neither do I.
I'm just here for vibes.
Yeah. She seems great, you know?
Okay.
Whatever, Rory.
So, love interest. L-I. Love interest. TJ, MC, main character. Sarah, other roommate. Does Sarah have any defining personality traits?
I would say, again, loosely based on the real Sarah, I would say that Sarah is the more, not necessarily uptight, but sort of the roommate who wants to play by the rules.
Okay.
You know? Although Sarah is also the one who instituted the bet in the first place because she's a rule-loving, you know, loves a rule, loves a challenge, loves to get as many certificates and trophies as possible kind of gal. Do you know what I mean? A real overachiever. Yes, a real Virgo.
Okay, I did write rule follower, but in a fun way, but I'm actually going to cross that out and just say Virgo.
Yeah, that covers it. Fewer words.
Okay, so we have Ryan, rich boy, Sarah, Virgo, TJ, main character, Rory, love interest. Do you want hypothetical TJ to have any, like, fun characteristics that we bring in throughout things, or for Rory to have any fun characteristics that are going to help us?
Personally, I think fictional TJ should be, like, 6'1", 6'3", you know? 6'3", I think, is a good number.
Okay.
Really able to reach the top shelf. You know what I mean?
Wait. And I can cut this out, because I don't know if you consider it a spoiler. If you do, I will cut it out. But that part where he's like, I wish I was tall. If I could have a magician wish, it would be to be taller.
Yeah, I forgot about that. My main character in A Gentleman's Gentleman, Christopher, he is also a short king, and he's also like, if I were a few inches taller, like 5 or 6 inches taller. And for him, it's also an issue of, please don't cut this out, it's also an issue of fashion, right?
Right.
Because, like, the more real estate you have, the more stuff you can wear, basically. So that to him is a real bummer that he's like a short king and is like, ugh, my coats can't be as long as is fashionable or else I look like an elf, you know?
Yeah. But he has his tailor friend.
Yes, that is true. And I'm sure Etienne makes him appear taller than he actually is. And men all wore heels back then anyway. Yeah. So that's helping. But yeah, short kings unite. Find us a footstool. Very unfair that shelves are so high. Yeah, I think fictional TJ should be tall. And feels like, to me, because this was in real life how I feel like my personality functioned in the roommate unit, I really was like the scrapper of the group, right? I was like, oh, you guys have never made a milk crate dresser before. Like, hold my beer. Or, in our case, like, very discounted malt beverage that was on sale at the Albertsons liquor store. Like, I can handle this. I know how to survive in these circumstances. There was actually, sorry, Sarah. So there was a roach in our kitchen one day, and we didn't own any bug spray or anything that could have killed it. And Sarah was screaming and freaking out, very scared of bugs. And I said, you know, you've just gone through a rough breakup. You need to, like, you know, this was in the era of, like, girl power with, like, 2 R's. I was like, girl power. This is what we consider feminism now. You should figure out your own way of killing this bug. And she said, you're absolutely right. And she left the apartment. She knocked on the apartment door next door, and she asked the man who lived next door if he would come over and kill the roach for us, which he did because he was very nice. But, like, after he left, I was like, Sarah.
No way, I'm on Sarah's side. Like, I can kill the roach, but I appreciate her. You said to fix the problem. She fixed the problem.
She said, she was like, it's fixed. I delegated. I was
Right.
like, to a man though, and she was like, right. I made him work for me for no payment. We did not give this man anything in return.
Yeah.
Like, looking back on it now, sure, third wave. I guess she was ahead of her time. I don't know.
I'm on her side. I would kill a roach if I had to, and I have before when I lived alone. But if the options are somebody else kills it, that's where I want to be.
Yeah.
Literally, last night I was cleaning, because we're gonna have a bunch of people here because we're getting married. Literally, last night I was cleaning, and I moved this, like, pile of things that I've been meaning to move, and there was a huge spider. And I was like,
no.
Ugh. And I called my fiance, and it was on Do Not Disturb because they were already asleep, and I was like, hey. And so I called again, pushing through that Do Not Disturb, said, come kill this spider. And he opens the door, and I'm like, don't let the dog out because he's going to play with the spider, and then it'll run away. And he's like, too late. So I held the dog, and he very poorly killed that spider. I was like, I should have done this, actually, because this was worse.
How did he kill it poorly? How did he fail?
So he had...
Break it down. Let's give him some feedback.
So he had this shoe, and it's not like a tennis shoe where it's like that. It's like a loafer where it's like that.
Oh.
And the spider is like here. He goes to get it, and it like hits the wall, and then the spider is like in the part that's not touching the wall. And I'm like, this is not helpful, actually. And he just like keeps trying to get it with that shoe, and I'm like, actually, I could have done this. So
it's a spatial awareness issue. It's a problem for sure.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't have a flat surface against a flat surface, you can't be 100% guaranteed for a kill. Like, you really need. Okay, you know what? It doesn't matter. But my point is,
eventually it fell onto the floor, and we dropped heavy car parts on top of it.
Car parts.
Yeah, there's brakes at the bottom of my stairs right now because my brother, as his Christmas present to me, was going to change my brakes. And so I bought the brakes and have not seen him since.
Beautiful. Brothers around the world. Like, yeah, I'll do that. And then he doesn't.
But that's okay. So TJ is 6'3" and scrappy, kind of MacGyvers some furniture together.
Yeah.
Rory is a little uptight, I wrote.
A little. A lot. I think a lot to start, and then gradually, loosens up.
Okay, so what class are we in where TJ and Rory are working together?
Well, this may shock you. I was an English major.
Yeah, you have a master's in writing and publishing.
I do. Oh, I do. But so I was an English major for undergrad as well. And so I feel like, I mean, just statistically, like, this character would probably be in one of those classes, but maybe it should be a subject that in some tangential or metaphorical way sort of feeds into the idea of the bet, like maybe a statistics class, you know what I mean? Or like something like that.
I'll do it.
That's the thing, is I don't really know much about statistics. I was hoping you would.
Oh, I do. Don't worry. I actually have a master's in research psychology, so I do.
That's a great backup, psychology, because like the psychological warfare that's happening amongst the roommates. I feel like if the main character were taking like a psychology course or majoring in that, I feel like that they might, incorrectly or not, presume that this gives them some kind of advantage, that they can game this system,
Oh, yeah. Well, and I also think that would lead to some, like, funny dialogue between Rory and TJ when Rory finds out about the bet. And they're talking about, like, psychologically, this is a weird thing to do.
Yeah. Have you not read Freud? Have you not considered the Jungian implications of what you're doing here? I think that would be very funny. That would be hilarious to me personally. So let's.
I would have to break out some textbooks to remember the people, but I think we could do it. I will just vaguely say psychologist in the meantime.
Yeah, you drop some in. You're like the guy with the cigar. People know what you're saying, I think.
Yeah. So I like that. I think it's fun to do psychology. Maybe even like to add in the roommates for more like fun things, they're gonna do this experiment, and they need different people to do the different trials. And so Ryan and Sarah are going to be enlisted, as all undergrad friends are when somebody has a psych paper to do. You are now a participant. So
you now have to sign this waiver right now, please.
Fill out
this
this survey and put these little nodes on your head if we're doing neuroscience.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, look at this computer screen. We're gonna flash things really fast and see how you feel.
I love that.
So I think that would be good. I also think that would be funny if we're doing a computer-based one, that maybe they pull up the program on the shared computer and then Rory like sees the weird internet search history.
Catching your friends. Friend catching tips. Catching your friends naked. Naked, question mark, catching? I don't know.
How to sneak into your own apartment.
Sneaking in, being quiet. Quiet footsteps. No sound footsteps.
Open, locked window.
Yes. I love all that very much. Especially because, are you seeing this then as a period piece? This is taking place in like, let's say 2003, 2004. I don't know. Or
yeah,
or would it be a modern?
Insane that you're like, that's a period piece, but yeah.
That's what people are saying now. Like, I saw there's a New York Times article that just came out about historical romances, and I was like, oh, I want to read this, see what's up. And there was a historical romance that was like in the year 2000, and I was like, oh, no, please.
Oh my god. Yeah. So I think that we should put it a little bit like in between. So I think that it can be like the late aughts, early teens, so that the computer program's a little bit better. Just
I like that. The Obama years. Like, a feeling of hope is happening in the universe of this book. I feel like that would be a good backdrop. Maybe, yeah.
Okay, so we're doing this experiment. That's our class project. We're working on it. Rory and TJ, Rory's like, this is a silly, goofy bet that you have, after TJ's roommates, Ryan and Sarah, burst through the door, and they're like, ah! She's like, and I feel like Sarah or Ryan needs to have like a fun one-liner of catching someone. I think it'd be funny if like each time they open the door, they say some sort of like weird one-liner. Not that we have to think of all of them, just like a...
Yeah.
Gotcha kind of thing, and they never do until they do, and then they're like, oh no.
As someone who grew up in this era, I think the phrase would be something akin to, you're on candid camera, or something like that, you know? Like, you've been punked. Do you remember punked? It doesn't matter.
That was Ashton Kutcher?
It was Ashton Kutcher. So something like that, I think, you know, or it could be an original catchphrase that these friends have all agreed is like, the code word or code phrase for when they're talking about this bet in polite company, you know?
Yeah. Okay, cool. So they do that. Rory is now knowing of the weird bet. Rory is like, it's a weird bet. And TJ's like, no, you don't get it. It's fun. You
don't
tried...
get it. It's the greatest thing ever. I could bet $150.
Have you considered whimsy in your life? Because this is like a fun thing.
This is a fun thing, for sure.
So, I think that there needs to be some... So, maybe we're trying to get more participants for our psych study. TJ and Rory have to go to, like, tabling at the quad. And
tabling at the quad, something I did many times as an undergrad. Nothing worse than like joining an organization thinking like, this is how you make friends. And then you realize like, oh, this is unpaid labor actually.
So they're tabling at the quad trying to get more participants. They're like, this would be a fun thing to do. And the other people are like, do I get any money? And they're like, no, you get to participate. Extra credit.
What if, and as a way to entice people into the study, the main character tries, again, legally distinct from me, another TJ, tries to interest people by telling them about the bet and saying, if you agree to be part of this study, I will allow you to make a side bet on who you think is going to be caught amongst these three people. Here's what I'm picturing. It's a small liberal arts college, let's say. That makes this more feasible. Everyone on campus has already heard about the bet. And so, you know, TJ's tabling there with Rory. Yeah, everyone's invested already. And so the only reason people are even stopping by this table at all are like, hey, are you that person with the bet? And then like, oh, this is how we can actually get like an A in this class, Rory, is by like telling people like, yes, and actually I am also organizing the official side bet that everybody else on campus can participate in. And it like maybe does get a little out of hand and people
Yeah,
are like,
TJ's a bookie now?
yes, we are now illegally gambling on campus. This is maybe a federal crime. But it's getting us participants. So Rory would be like grudgingly saying like, yeah, I guess this is how we're gonna like get this project off the ground, you know?
Okay, I love it. So we're getting participants. I think that there's going to be like cute little things between Rory and TJ while they are tabling. Perhaps they table at other events as well. So like maybe there's a holiday carnival or whatever and they got a table there. So this, I'm assuming this is like a semester long project. So
Yes.
I just need like little snippets of like building the relationship before they get together.
All right. Well, if it's a Christmas themed event, then I would assume that this is like a, you know, a fall to January semester that we're dealing with, right?
Okay.
So
yeah.
like start of the year to your midterms is the length of time that we have for this relationship to blossom, which in college time is like forever, right?
Easy.
That's plenty of time. I think it would be an interesting concept to have now that everyone on campus has a stake pretty much in the bet, that everyone is kind of trying to like nudge them together, right?
Ooh.
In like subtle ways. Or that, you know, depending on who you bet on, if you're another student, like a background character in this book, you're trying to get, you know, Ryan hooked up with this other guy. You're trying to get Sarah, you know, and this guy who's into her, like together. Like everyone's like playing matchmaker for these three people who are trying their hardest not to get laid, which I think is very funny. That's an incredibly funny scenario.
It's not that you can't get laid. It's that you can't get laid at your apartment.
Yes, you can, but you can't get caught. No one can see it.
Oh, so even if it's at a different apartment, if you get caught, it counts?
Yes. Okay, so now we're world building. We're blowing apart the confines of the apartment itself. The bet is not only just about in the apartment, although that's, I think, what starts it because it's such a small apartment. But, like, it's like if you get caught anywhere with anyone, by anyone, that counts.
Okay.
I think.
How big is the pot getting?
Well, let's see. Like, how big is a liberal arts college? Like, a couple thousand people max? So let's say a quarter of these people are interested and willing to throw in a couple bucks into this pot. That's maybe 500 people. So like maybe this pot is getting up to $1,000. Maybe professors are also getting in. Like, you know, you have a cool professor who's like been tenured forever and he just like shows up like, I don't know, in like pajamas smoking a cigar and he's just like, yeah, I put a $5 down on Ryan. I think that would be very funny.
I love that. I think that's so fun. I love that we're building quite the community at this liberal arts college. I love that. Okay, so we've had little moments. They're being pushed together. Other people are also being pushed together. I want to say that perhaps Ryan or Sarah has been hooking up with someone, has not been caught. So like it's happening secretly.
You know what I think would be more interesting than Ryan being the person doing that? If Sarah was the person doing that, because she's so organized, right? She's like making it happen.
She's made a plan. Yeah, she has it covered. She's got everything. Yeah, she's on it. Okay, so Sarah's been hooking up with someone. We'll like find out about that after our main couple gets exposed. I think there's got to be like, when did Group Me become a thing?
What's Group Me?
Okay. Cool. So, GroupMe is the worst app in the world, and everyone in college uses it.
We didn't have apps in college.
Yeah, but we're putting it in between our college years. So
okay, yeah, a time and a place, right?
It's the worst app in the world, but you use it to like basically everyone in your class is suddenly in this group chat and you mute it immediately because it's the worst thing to ever exist.
No. Why would someone invent this?
It's horrible. But it is useful occasionally for like group projects if you don't want to like give people in your class your number.
Right,
We can discuss over GroupMe. Maybe there's an email chain. I don't know. So there's some sort of group situation going on, checking in, being like, has anybody caught him yet? Updates. Yeah. There may be, oh my god, you know what would be so fun? So I'm saying that the small liberal arts college has a newspaper. And this
Of course.
newspaper has a column dedicated to updates on the bet.
I love that. Like they're just like society column or whatever gets completely turned over to like every day it's like 200 words on what's going on with the bet.
And it's like the chapter titles. So each time we get a chapter, there's at the very beginning, update on the bet. And it's like, we saw Ryan talking to this guy. What do we think is happening?
Who's this guy? Anyone know this guy?
Yeah. Not them doxing the guy.
Small town romance. This is what small town romance is all about.
Sarah was leaving the lunch hall with this other person.
Yeah.
PJ and Rory haven't been seen together in like 2 days. Did something happen? What's going on? So like we're getting these updates from the campus newspaper. So I think that once our couple is exposed, I think the campus newspaper has to do like a front page full spread of like, it happened.
It happened. It happened. And it would have to be even flashier and like I feel more embarrassing than what happened in real life.
Yes.
Like you said, like multiple people have to be involved in the catching.
Yeah.
And I do love the idea that like things have gotten so out of control and out of hand that like even though the bet has been driving the plot this whole time for our two main characters, for TJ and Rory, like the intricacies and drama of their relationship and their burgeoning like feelings for each other has completely overshadowed like any thoughts that they have about the bet. Like they've completely forgotten about it, right?
So I think that while they're working on their little paper or whatever they're doing with their experiment, so they're working on it in a dining hall, I want to say. No, because the dining hall is self-serve. They're at a local cafe. And
Love it.
The waiter is like being way too invested in like what they're up to, because the whole town is like very invested.
They're local celebrities now. They are now local celebrities. Yeah.
So they're at and they're finishing their thing, but this is like a date. So they're like also on a date. Like we're not 100% yet because like both of them have not confessed to each other, but it is a date.
Love it.
They're like writing and they're eating a shared plate of French fries and stuff. Maybe some like leg touches leg in the booth action because they're both looking at the same ancient laptop.
That's right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Now someone has a laptop. I guess Rory has a laptop.
Yeah, well, Rory would have a laptop because I don't feel like Rory is in the impoverished 3 roommates in 1 bedroom situation that the rest of our characters are. Like, I think Rory is just like a normal person.
Okay, Rory has their laptop and then TJ is next to them, and so their legs are touching. TJ's very tall, so I suppose maybe a little bit of a spread there since they're in a booth.
You'd have to be.
Yeah. So definitely like more than a little leg touching. It's like fully pressed up against each other. They're
to see that little screen. You got to see that little screen. Yeah.
They're getting closer. They're writing their little thing. Maybe there's some hand touching, like as we're typing. Also, I looked up that word you were looking for earlier. Is it
a tontine? Tontine. I knew it was French. I couldn't remember for the life of me which word it was. I look up this word like once every 6 months because I'm like, what's that thing where people make a bet?
So we're having these little dates. I want to say that like maybe this is actually like the moment. So we're having these little dates. So this one, they're like really close to each other. Their hands keep brushing along the keyboard as they're like changing things and being like, oh no, wait, back up on that. And their arms are everywhere. They're very close to each other. And so I'm thinking that like at some point, I want to say that Rory's getting annoyed. They're like, hey, I'm typing. This is my computer. Like, stay over there. So I'm going to say that they turn. And at the same time, TJ has turned. And then they're like...
the moment where they're both like, oh no. Love it.
It's like soft music plays. Everything's in slow-mo. So they're having that moment. There's going to be a lean-in. There's going to be a smooch. Maybe like a light one. And then... And then it's like, oh. And then they are both just like, oh, what is this? And maybe they'll like hold hands under the table for the rest of the interaction.
Yeah.
And then I think that they're gonna get into Rory's car after they have finished their paper. They've maybe emailed it to the professor as like a draft to get feedback on. And they are like
very important to get that grade.
They've gotten into Rory's car. Rory's gonna drive them back, and maybe now that the like pressure of the paper is over, they're like able to give in to the tension. So there's like some making out in the car, and then there's someone could see us. Like do they remember that right now?
I think the kiss in the cafe is a good moment for like maybe one person to pull back and the other person to be like, oh no, I made a huge mistake. And the first person who pulled back to say, no, you know, you're good. This is good. I'm just like, this is very public. And we've done all of this in like the public eye. And like, now that we're on the same page, like, I want this to be private, you know?
Right.
Like, we need a private moment now, away from the prying eyes of the society pages.
Yes.
The gossip of the London Ton.
So they go back to TJ's apartment because Ryan and Sarah are at a movie. They're busy, and so they're pretty sure they're gonna have like free time.
They're gonna have 3 full hours like of time because like what was the big movie that was coming out in like 2009, like Batman Begins or something like that. Like they're like, you know, if these people are watching Batman Begins, you know, on opening night, we have all night, baby, is like kind of the idea. But then
so they've got some time, so they are gonna be like back at the apartment. I think that like some nerves set back in because like we've had one kiss. It's so maybe
this has been a very slow burn.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm not. That wasn't like critical. Did you read the book that I just read? Like,
I
really?
did.
I can't be critical of that. I am also doing these things.
So I think that they're gonna like watch a movie, or they're gonna put on a movie or like a TV show or something that they both like, and so they can like kind of pay attention, kind of not. And then maybe like after an hour, they're getting back to being like comfortable enough to like, they're either lounging on each other or they're going to be like starting to kiss again. And so anyways, like time progresses, they are hooking up and they lose track of time. Ryan and Sarah come back smelling of popcorn. I think maybe they even have the bin with them because some people are
the Batman shaped popcorn bucket. They're wearing like the little Batman hats. They've had a great time at Christopher Nolan's amazing movie that changed the genre for.
They open the door, and I think that the bag of popcorn falls to the ground.
Yes. Wait, why do they bring popcorn back with them? These are notes that an editor would give. Like,
that's
is
the thing.
popcorn gonna be stale the next day?
No, I worked at a movie theater.
Poor.
I worked at a movie theater. People are obsessed with like getting an extra refill to take home.
Really?
Yes.
But doesn't
People
it get cold?
love movie theater popcorn.
I mean, I'm remembering back in college, I would have eaten cold movie theater popcorn for sure. So like, okay, I believe it. They got popcorn. It's now all over the floor. That's very funny and a very funny sound that it would make as well.
So then, what did Ryan say when he got caught again? Just like a quiet. Oh,
I only had an hour. Like, my schedule is so full. Like that was
when you first walked in.
no. Like a very sad. Oh no.
Oh yeah, okay. So I think that maybe we also need a very sad oh no, just to like bring it full circle, where like maybe we're like under a shirt, or we're like progressing or like close to a finish line, and then the door opens and we're like, oh no.
Oh no. Oh no. I think it would be very funny if like one of the characters that catches them, they have a problem with the situation. Like they have like a nitpick to make that has nothing to do with the fact that like the bet has been, won finally. I think that it would be very funny if like, our heroes were making out on the couch, maybe under, an Afghan or something. And I don't know, Ryan is like, under my grandma's Afghan? Under Grammy's Afghan?
Yes, I love that. I think that's hilarious.
You can't stain Grammy's Afghan. Ugh. Yeah. And then when we're basically done, then it's just like what, an
Right.
epilogue? Our heroes realize like, oh, losing the bet wasn't the end of the world. I'm out $50. It's fine.
Right.
The money that I was given by like somehow produced like by collecting all these bets and taking my little like 1% from everyone more than made up for it.
Because
So we're
TJ
fine.
is a bookie.
Is illegally gambling on campus is a scrapper, is pulling it together and making it happen. And then finally, maybe the roommate, situation can finally afford like to move into a good apartment. Like maybe that's the nice denouement, is that like next semester we're moving into a real apartment, guys.
Oh, I like that. That's a good ending of like, and we all get personal space.
And we all get some personal space. Have we still learned how to respect boundaries? No.
No,
We haven't
not
learned
even
that.
a little bit. But now someone can lock a door.
Now we have a door that locks. Rory can come over whenever we want. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, and then I
love
think
that.
that's when we can get the Sarah reveal of she's been dating someone this whole time.
Oh, I think Sarah deserves to have been dating multiple people.
Sure. Yeah, she's been playing the field.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, let her have some fun. Everyone has a character arc by the end. That's what I like. Even the side characters should get a little bit,
Yes. Oh, I love that. I think that maybe there's a little tiny interview in that school paper where they did the front page spread of like Rory and TJ got together, and then there's a little tiny interview from the person that was their waiter at the cafe.
Like a very blurry flip phone photo of them sitting in a booth doing absolutely nothing, and the waiter was like, I was there for it. It happened to me.
Yes.
Perfect. Basically, Lambda Literary Award winning plot, I feel.
Yes, wonderful. And we did that in like 55 minutes. Excellent. Is that a real book? No. Would this miss any edits? No. But you know what? It was a fun time.
It was very fun. I do love the riffing. And there are parts of it that I am now like,
Well, you can have it. It's yours. It's your story. I can't write
There you
anything.
go.
I've never finished anything. Because once I write the end, I'm like, it doesn't matter. Because I know how it ends.
That's so strange because for most authors, myself included, I feel like the end is the hardest part. And if you do know the ending, then like things get easier because you're like working towards something, But yeah, then the other hardest part is like actually doing the darn thing.
I think that it makes sense when you're writing to share. But if I'm like writing to like get my story out, I'm like, I've done it. I know how it ends. It's just
No, I know how it ends. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're good.
we're done.
Yeah, that makes sense. This was a delight.
Good. Before I let you go, I do want to grab some book recs from you.
Yes.
And then I will let you disappear eventually, but you do have to keep hanging out with me for a little bit longer. So this was unintentional, but your episode will actually be releasing during the Trans Rights Readathon. Are there any books or organizations you'd like to plug to our listeners to read or donate to during the readathon?
Yes, I have some recommendations. This came out in January. I really, really loved it. Teratai's debut called Single Player. It's about two video game developers who are working on like a big budget franchise type game, like a fantasy game for, nerds and gamers with a Y who love that stuff. It's very, very cool. I just thought it was a fun book. Everyone should check that out. KT Hoffman's The Prospects is a contemporary romance with a trans man main character that takes place in a Yes. Oh, a beautiful edition that takes place in a minor league baseball team. Even if you don't know anything about baseball like me, I could not care about sports if you paid me. I loved that book. I thought it was just beautifully done. And like anything by Anita Kelly, I think Anita's great and has a ton of books that are both like contemporary romances that are traditionally published and indie published. So like please check those out. Oh, and organizations. Personally, we'll be donating to the Transgender Law Center It does, a ton of work in the courts, which is really important, obviously, right now, especially.
And then I do always grab these recs. What is your favorite book or series of all time?
I mean, I wouldn't be able to choose like one food to eat, like my favorite food of all time. Like it depends. It really depends. I will say that like probably the books that I've read the most are things that I grew up reading and having read to me. So like the Sherlock Holmes stories, the P.G. Wodehouse short stories, anything where like a British person is in trouble. I grew up with that stuff, so I love that stuff, yeah.
What was your last 5-star read?
I have a book coming out this week, so like my brain is tapioca.
A Gentleman's Gentleman. This actually was my
yeah,
last
A Gentleman's
5-star read.
Gentleman. Out March 11th from Vintage Books. I guess the last 5-star read that I did was, and I mentioned it before in my recommendations, Terra Ties single player. Yeah, I loved it. 5 stars all across the board.
What is your most anticipated book of 2025?
I don't remember when it's out, but Meryl Wilsner has a new book coming out soon called My Best Friend's Honeymoon, and I really love their writing. I'm looking forward to that a lot. I have it on my Kindle waiting to be read, an early copy of it, so I need to get to that as soon as, I'm done with my book stuff.
And what are you currently reading? I know you're currently about to publish a book, so you're so busy, but...
Currently, and this is my own fault, I wanted to reread Moby Dick for the first time in a very long time, and I accidentally got a copy from the library that was in Spanish.
Oh.
I did not know this until I opened it, and I was like, oh, no. Am I reading it? I mean, I'm maybe understanding 35 to 40%
Oh, you're committing
of it.
to it?
I mean, I'm probably not going to read the whole thing, let's be honest. Let's be very honest. But it's a fun little exercise to be like, how much of old-timey Melville speak in Espanol will I actually be able to understand? Because, like... that book is so technical with the ships and the rigging and the water and the whale. And, I know whale. I know La Bellina. That's, that, I'm good with that. El Capitan. I got that. No problem. Everything else, I'm just, like, guessing really hard. But that's what I'm currently trying to get through.
And then, what book do you recommend the most?
To most people who say, like, I really dig your books, what would you recommend I read next? I usually, if it's the historicals, I recommend Cat Sebastian's books. I think she's great. I loved her last duology. Her novellas as well are really, really good. Yes, You Should Be So Lucky. And the other one, We Could Be So Good, made me cry like a little baby. I love those books a lot. And for contemporary, I'm just such a fan of Anita Kelly. I know I said that before, but they're really great.
And then this one is just because you are also married. I get married on Saturday, so in
Congrats!
2 days. Is there any advice you'd like to give me? Life advice?
For the wedding day or for the marriage itself? Those are two very different things.
Whatever you want.
Well, for the wedding day, I would say, like, I don't know how much of a big to-do you're doing. Personally, I didn't have a big, huge to-do, but even what we did end up having was very stressful because it's a one-day thing. You only get one shot at getting, but like, no one's going to remember that day, basically. I know that sounds like a little bit callous. I hope you have a great wedding day, but I think that your wedding day will be a lot less stressful if you just remember that things are going to go wrong, and that's okay. It's fine. No one's going to care about, like, the fact that there was no cake because somebody, for example, dumped it out of the cab and into a gutter when it was raining. No one's going to remember that. No one's going to remember that a huge downpour stopped the ceremony and everyone had to, like, hide indoors with a bunch of other parties that had nothing to do with your wedding. No one's going to remember that a guy who you do not know from one of these other parties who was very drunk gave the toast. No one's going to remember any of this. So don't worry about it when it happens. And for the marriage, I think my marriage, at least, is just, like, you get to hang out with your best friend, like, basically every day. Mm-hmm. It's, like, so cool. Like, every day I think, like, how lucky we are that we get to do that. Not everyone does get to do that. So, yeah, I guess just, like, keep that in mind. I don't know. Make sure you remember that.
Thank you so much for the recommendations and the life advice. This has been If It Was a Book, a literary podcast. You can listen to episodes wherever you listen to podcasts. You can watch video episodes if you're more of a visual person on YouTube. You can follow the podcast on Instagram and on TikTok at If It Was a Book. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Wicked Reads. I read a lot. It's shocking, I know. And then TJ, where can we find you?
I am on Instagram, Blue Sky, and tumblr.com at
Yeah.
TJ Alexander NYC. And you can find me at tjalexander.com, where you can sign up for my newsletter, all that good stuff.
And if you would like to submit one of your stories to potentially be chosen by one of my guests as something we rewrite, you can do so at ifitwasabook@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. Tune in next week.